When we compare the lives of our past ancestors, their simplified environment, their direct connection with nature and the minimal necessities which occupied their minds, we come to find that they held a set of positive, fulfilling attributes or desired attainments which grounded their existence within the world. What were essential parts of life were things which would keep any person grounded today and still fascinated with all that could be possible. Raising a family, the beauty of music, close connected friends and companions, admiration, wonder and speculation of all that exists, a sort of innocent and quaint pity for our existence within a world and in a universe far beyond our measure, but also among others. One can recall the Native American Indians with their small, close-knit, egalitarian societies who are more wise than materialistic. Rousseau claimed that humans are possessed by two forms of self-love. One was amour de soi, which means self-preservation or self-love, for example, taking up interests of our own survival, comfort and enjoyment within the state of nature. And the second was amour propre, which means self-esteem. This form of self-love is inherently based on having a relational existence with others, and it is something which grew out of the development of existing within civilization. While living in a society, we receive recognition from others, so this form of self-love or value is dependent on other people by the societal gaze of being recognized or accepted, and it includes the different social recognitions which would be desired by people, for example, coming off as rich, as that would increase one's perception of self-worth or self-esteem in society. But it came to thought for Rousseau that this impulse of amour de soi within human nature would evolve, adapt and change into a different expression when we would culturally evolve to become more civil or acquainted with others, to be more known to exist among a crowd of people than within our own settled harmony. Living in urban cities among large populations, purchasing newspapers and all the rest, of course, changed the ways in which we would live as a people and of course our own understanding and expression of our natural impulses. Rousseau saw a problem with this new form of self-love. He claimed that through this transitory period of being uncultured to cultured, the unavoidable gaze of civilization and of our own observation unto others would turn the impulse of true love into this new form of self-worth and self-esteem with regards to our relation with society and the people within it. This new form of self-love for people in urban societies would spark new desired personal interests to increase their societal stature and projective value. Therefore, traits such as jealousy, vanity, pride, and narcissism would be given fuel in an attempt to climb a ladder towards societal perfectibility. Population growth within confined spaces and city landscapes would increase the likelihood of personal self-comparison with others. We would start to use people as a measuring rod from our own possible perfectibility within society. A focused and worrying attention to what my self-worth would be within a particular civilization. What could I offer to such a place? And thus, how can I fit in to be perfect for such a demanding society? With this being given close attention, our personal original attention to self-love and development would decrease. Games of comparison, societal competitions, prejudice development, snobbery and division would begin to unfold at greater lengths and would get worse over time. Even the influential negativities of materialism would influence the change in attention, which would of course continue to lead society's development for many years to come. In the modern world, for example, it comes as no surprise that the leading cause for crime is based on relative poverty and not poverty itself. The psychological attention to observe and compare within populations when living in highly differentiating wealth distribution leads to higher crime. But if there is a flatline distribution of low or high wealth in a given community, there is much less crime. Rousseau, in my view, was mostly wrong about this idea he called the noble savage, which he referred to as the pre-civilized human beings. He referred to these people as being born good in the state of nature because amour-propre did not exist until civilization occurred. Because of this, he saw civilization as having a negative effect on people, objectively, that it would produce moral decadence through vanity, jealousy, and improper pride. But this idea of human beings being born good and the noble savage is nothing more than optimistic naivety. To think that human beings living in their natural state of nature are naturally good, whatever that even means, and it is not exactly the case that civilization and its conditioning has objectively made us bad and have immoral decadence. Chimps are not exactly the nicest of animals in their natural state, for example, and that is what we have supposedly evolved from through evolution, so there's no reason to think humans wouldn't be any different. And this idea of a noble savage is a myth. It has never really been adequately backed up with any evidence. But that doesn't mean goods cannot be attained from Rousseau. For example, claiming that when man is in harmony with nature, which would be the physical world, is when he is at his most optimum state, is mostly correct. Going against that would be preferring the evolution of man with regards to his potential outside of nature, or not in accordance with it, which right now is mostly destructive, producing neuroticism, mental health issues, and disconnecting physical reality away from true experience. His interpretation of civilization can be well used against the kind of excessive, negative self-judgment people have against themselves with regards to making comparisons with others in the modern age, especially with it being much worse today in that arena than it was in the 18th century period of Rousseau, when we now have many people surrounding their lives with all forms of technological and corporative consumerism which solely relies on this relational idea of amour-propre, or of an individual to conform to materialistic demands for the sake of being vain or accepted within a society. And of course, plastic surgery and the unjustified fascination with celebrities who, often numb to reality, disfigure their bodies because they think doing so is an act of beauty. All of this is occurring because many have lost the ability to accept themselves and entertain in the instinct of self-love due to the dominance of what could raise someone's self-worth and self-esteem in society, but also because everything in today's world is always in relation to something else. Self-love pushed away for self-worth. That's why so many people want to be the same. They want to be safe from themselves, because in doing so, it may reduce their self-worth in relation to the civilization's normative expectations, which cause us to value the societal gaze more than our own individual, unique possibility. To be seasonal, no one liked Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He stood out from everyone else and thus was seen as useless, but his nose did come in handy and saved Christmas. If the reindeer only took the perspective of self-worth in relation to civilization and completely disregarded the other, Rudolph may have developed some kind of body dysmorphia influenced by society, a negation of true self-knowledge, or even understanding the potential in one's own uniqueness. The thing is, Rousseau is referring to self-esteem as being stemmed from civilization, but generally it is both. You develop self-esteem when you overcome a personal hurdle, as well as proving yourself adequate publicly in some way or another, but people, I guess, who are higher in something like agreeableness, for example, may be more dependent on society's approval, which would set self-esteem being more dependent in the reactions of society than anywhere else. A possible reiteration of the noble savage to me would be that of having contentment, because the 21st century promotes the opposite of being content. It is the opposite of seeing value in the simple life, especially in the West. A noble savage today would be one who holds high esteem to having a simplistic life with nature, and basing their existence around its accordance, similar to the Taoists or Buddhists. The only reason for this to be deemed savage in our Western world is not because it is, but because it is the opposite. The opposite of what the negative aspects of Western modern civilization demand through the likes of social media, which promote attention towards amour propre. It is only savage because it is going against the modern tide. Man is not made good in the state of nature like Rousseau naively claims, neither is man born bad as Thomas Hobbes states, but he who learns to understand the acrobatics of nature can one then learn to lead a good life, which is what most of the Eastern philosophies admired in doing. If we stray from such a path, continue on the one where man is everywhere in chains, is obsessed with relational self-comparison, then our ability for self-love and self-understanding will perish, along with our freedom, which is to be ruled over by technocratic overlords. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, comment and subscribe. Make sure to check out my Patreon if you are interested in donating towards the channel. With that said, thanks for watching and I wish you a happy, Merry Christmas.